to make a couple of announcements before we continue. First, this meeting was changed to accommodate our administrative assistant. Her dear mother passed away earlier this month, and she will be leaving for Florida early tomorrow morning to go back to Florida to attend her mother's funeral and carry our sincere condolences for your loss. Secondly, we ask all in attendance to be respectful and refrain from any outbursts while we conduct the district's business. Thank you for your cooperation. So now we will continue on with the agenda item. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Not for me.
I have none.
Yes, Carrie?
No, I have none.
Oh, you have none? Oh, I thought you said I had one.
No.
Sorry. All right. For you latecomers, did you sign in?
No.
Please do so.
Oh, I see one is.
Okay, consent calendar. We have approval of the minutes for June 13th, May 31st, bills for July 25th, treasurer's report, and the quarterly incentive awards for the end of this quarter. So, have you had a chance to look over the minutes, all of this packet? Rudy?
Yes.
All right, I will entertain a motion. Motion?
Make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we accept the consent calendar as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Old business, there is none. Moving on to new business.
Actually, there is old business during the last
Bobbi,
meeting.
you are out of order right now. This is not a public comment section. This is not a public forum. You may sit down. And if
No,
you
actually,
do
I will
not
not
show
sit down.
respect, if you do not show respect, Bobbi, you will be asked to leave.
Why don't you start
Please.
showing some respect?
During the last meeting, you guys agreed to table the discussion that we had, and you had denied me to be on the agenda, which I should have been classified under old business because you all agreed at the end of the last meeting to have this discussion continue
Absolutely.
on this meeting.
Bobbi?
The response that you gave me was there was gonna be an article in the paper. Then if you're gonna deny me a chance to speak during this meeting, you have that article present, and then can you read that article that is going to be in the newspaper to us right now?
Tyson, is there an article in the paper tomorrow?
We have something going on this week.
Then can you
All
read
right.
This week.
It comes out tomorrow, Wednesday.
But
you
you
agreed to do it during this meeting.
You did.
right now.
You did do
Bobbi.
that. It's on
We
film.
offered you a chance to request a special meeting to focus on your concerns discussed in the June 13th meeting. You did not follow up on this opportunity. Also, I would like to clarify to those in attendance for the Idaho Open Meeting Law Manual, Code Section 7426, executive session, there are 6 exemptions listed to call an executive session. None are to discuss a fire response. So if you would please sit down and be quiet for us to continue with our business, all right?
So then you're basically going back on your word when you agreed during the
We
last meeting to continue.
It
this
is on
discussion.
film from last meeting.
Okay, we apologize for that, but we don't have information that she is requesting. And I think if you were
You
sitting
did
here
last
quietly
meeting.
and- Jackie,
I'm just saying you did last meeting.
we're gonna have to ask anybody who is disruptive to leave. If you can't sit here
you
and
gonna leave
listen
with
to
us?
us respectfully, carry on the district business, then you do not have a place here.
But it's
This
not
is the
respectful.
district business because this is a
And you're
carryover
from
the
Fernwood.
last
I am from Fernwood, but we're also from the
And
county.
it's not your district.
And you
But
shut
it is-
everybody else out, you won't let the public talk about
Right.
it.
I did
All
have
right, Bobbi, please sit down and show some respect. You will get some answers when the chief gives his report, and you will get some information in the paper tomorrow when the article comes out. Wednesdays are when it's published. Now, if you,
information today or during the next meeting, and that still has not happened.
you know, some of that should not be aired in public.
Why?
So that's why we offered you
Why?
a special meeting to focus on what you're asking.
Why is it
I
all your
have-
business shouldn't be discussed in public? Everything is hidden behind closed doors.
Special
You won't let
meeting.
anybody talk, you won't let the taxpayers have a voice, it's all about you guys. Everything is about you guys.
Hey, I'm a
Why don't you let them talk?
I'm a taxpayer and I'm here to listen to the meeting.
I'm sure you are.
We're all taxpayers.
Some of us are renters, so we don't pay tax.
Really?
Well,
So
Okay.
shove them out the door.
All right,
May I
come
speak?
on.
Rudy, go ahead,
Everybody
you've got the
says I
floor.
don't speak.
Some of us are
The
renters.
secret to this whole thing is to release all the investigation in the past when I started. And that would sum it up, but it's all confidential. Can I make a motion to release all this private information for the past chief?
Oh,
To make it available for everybody to see so we can clear this crap up?
that's a good question, Rudy.
Well, this
That is
was,
a very
we were
good
asking about the
question.
Mother's Day
With the
fire.
past chief, it has to do with the fire that happened on Mother's Day night.
Correct.
And when I asked the
You know what
question,
I've seen? It's nothing to do with the fire. It's about Marcella. It's all about Marcella.
No, actually, we want
Here
information about the Mother's Day fire.
it had nothing to do with Marcella. That was actually the first time I ever met her. So what I am standing
I
on
read
has nothing
Facebook.
to do with Marcella and her cause, whether I agree with it or not. I just wanted answers with the 12 or the 8 questions that I posed to this board on the last meeting.
Bobby, I have those right here with me, all right? And I'm going to tell you right now, I've read the chief's report. Some of those will be answered in his report, okay? And it will also be answered with our person who is on the agenda. You were on the agenda last month, and we give everybody an opportunity. We do not
Oh my
have
goodness.
answers
You
that
don't.
you really want right now, okay?
Okay.
So I would really appreciate it if you would just sit down, listen. We've listened to you. You take
You won't
everything
listen to
we
anybody
say
else.
and you hold us to that. But I think it's time that we act like adults here, okay?
You should start.
So can you sit down and Larry, you retired 3 years ago, so.
What does that
And
have
I
to do
never
with
had
me?
this problem when I was chief,
No, you didn't.
because I kept you guys in check.
Yeah.
We dealt with the public.
Is that
Let me get out
okay?
of the meeting.
Yeah, laugh all you want. Got a good fire department then.
Clint, please.
Well,
This
it's
is a
true.
business meeting, not a public forum. You're welcome to listen to the business at hand. There is no public comment, and I know that MITA doesn't have them on theirs either. So if you don't abide by the ground rules, you may leave,
What is that got
all
to do
right?
with anything?
So we are going on with correspondence.
Oh, he just hit his head.
Period.
Take him out.
Correspondence. Okay, chief's report. And can you speak loudly so they can hear you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Communications, so we've had, communications, all, the list is there. I won't read those off unless you need me to. Apparatus and stations, so we're still in an ongoing assessment of overall apparatus condition and status. We have maintenance and repair plans for Station 1 O'Gara Station that are being presently evaluated and looked at, including cost estimates and repair requirements. We are in the process of the Station 1 requiring feasibility and cost assessments. Listed there is a storage room for PPE, storage room for record retention, moving the air compressor and the airline plumbing, minor repairs on the doors here at Station 1. We have repairs at the O'Gara Station, some minor electrical and door repairs there. We are having the firewall feasibility looked at to evaluate the firewall status, to change the requirement here of the building to an RF status where we would potentially be able to house resident firefighters here. We are also doing that at the O'Gara Station. We are doing a cost analysis for that on both stations overall. The apparatus, so all of the apparatus that have lingering repairs, and I will say that these have been lingering for quite some time and pretty much were ignored prior to me getting here. And so repairs should have been done, but were not. So not all of these, but some of these major ones. 1501 is going in for its routine oil change and some change out on the back rack system there. 1502 is going to be going in for seal repair, have the muffler repaired on an exhaust leak. 1581 again is here for the wildland season, and then that will be moved back to O'Gara. 1522 is at General Apparatus in Spokane, and it had an array of issues: lights, electrical pump, air system, seat. So those are all being addressed, evaluated, and looked at, and the repairs will be completed, and then it'll be brought back here. Time estimation for that was about 2 to 3 weeks. So it's been there maybe going on 2 weeks now, not quite 2 weeks. 1524 went in yesterday for repairs on its air system, brake, suspension, and electrical.
Where did that go?
It's over at Larry's truck. Yeah, we had a truck mechanic that was gonna come here, but we couldn't get him scheduled in enough time frame, so we had to send that over to Larry's truck, so they're gonna have it for a couple days and then it should be back. Time estimation on that was 2 to 3 days. 1535 is due to go in for repair on a cooling system leak that's been lingering for quite some time. That is been scheduled with Fast Eddies. They're going to be picking that up and trying to get that repaired for us in a 1 day time frame. 1584 went in for a charging system repair and lighting, and then 1521 went in for tires and rim replacement. And so we're continuing the assessment of needed and necessary repairs on the apparatus as we can determine. And operations, we're in the process of getting the automatic aid agreement finalized and drafted to go to the commissioners for approval with Eastside Fire. And had a July 3rd, I had a meeting with the director, the sergeant, and the lieutenant at Benoit Dispatch to discuss dispatching, active 911, CAD sheet delivery, and dispatching for various operations. So that meeting went well. We're going to be funneling all of our people through dispatch to get an orientation from the dispatchers on their operations there. July 14th, had a meeting with the Potlatch Fire Chief regarding mutual aid, and that was a good meeting. And basically, Potlatch is committed to providing us immediate mutual aid when requested as much as they can, primarily during the day, but sometimes at night. We, Carrie and I, have had a couple meetings with Lexipol to start working on the policies and procedures and SOPs for the department. That was on July 17th, and we have a next meeting on August 3rd, which will continue that process. The fire prevention program, we are in the process of conducting inspections and getting that program ramped up fully. We are working with State Fire Marshal, the State Building Inspector, and City Code Enforcement. And we are starting to go around and hit all the high hazard assembly type occupancies, high hazard, and then that will eventually filter down to standard businesses. And we have inspections in Kootenai County. We've had quite a few of those. We have a majority of them that have been conducted are in the final stage of review and approval. We have some that are pending status currently. And then as of yesterday, we hired our 2 full-time firefighters who started. We went through that hiring process. We selected the 2 candidates. Both candidates accepted the position and started as of yesterday. And they are here Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Training, interim deputy chief of training and PIO, Bill Steele, is here with us 2 days a week, Wednesdays and Thursdays, and he is, him and I are working together in developing a annual training calendar for 2024. The remainder of training here for 2023, and specialized training like road rescue, auto extrication, ice rescue. On July 14th, I met with the Potlatch Chief. We also discussed joint training in addition to the other topics. So we're going to be looking at doing some joint training with Potlatch at their facility as well as them coming to our facility here. We are still in the process of trying to get the EMT, EMR training in place. Currently still looking for an instructor to facilitate those programs for us here. So that's still in process. Training programs are in development, and ultimately we're looking for the standardization of training so we can meet all of the JPRs, the job performance requirements for firefighters in the state of Idaho, and also the NFPA standards. And let's see. We are in the process of still trying to get the live fire training scheduled. for the essentials class as well as our young people here. We also, probably that fire training will involve East Side Fire and potlatch. So once we get that scheduled, we'll be getting those personnel funneled up to the burn room at Worley Fire to get some live burn training. Also talked with potlatch about building a burn room out at our O'Hara station, so we're kind of having that discussion with them. That looks promising. Really, I think it's going to happen. It's just a matter of some logistics and things like that, so we're kind of working on that. Specific incidents we had, most predominantly we had an airplane crash, we had a vehicle in the river, we had life flight landed 3 times out in the Harrison O'Hara area. We provided 1 water tender to Worley Fire Mutual Aid for a fire at Compton Marina. And on administration, again, interim deputy chief of training and public information, Bill Steele, is on board with us here 2 days a week. The Lexi poll, we've covered that, next scheduled August 3rd. We're still in the process of developing and putting together the administrative policies and procedures with Lexi poll. And we're looking at how we are going to better improve operational strategy and public deliverables. And we are working closely with the city of St. Mary's in our alignment with code enforcement for fire and life safety prevention. And events, 1501, 1562, and 1524 attended and provided a standby at the fly-in breakfast at the airport. And on July 4th, we were out at the fireworks in Harrison. We were actually out there 2 days before, as well as the 4th, monitoring the pyrotechnic activities that were going on out there. And on July 7th, we had 3 firefighters who attended the Firefighter 1 Academy at Worley. They graduated. 2 of those were our full-time hires. So we attended their graduation ceremony there. And today we have a 4-H public education event, which our 2 firefighters and myself will be going to. It's going to include an engine tour, fire extinguisher training, and trying out the TPD and FCBAs that the firefighters use. And that would conclude my report.
Anybody have any questions from the board? On your inspections, so you visited Valley Vista?
So we've been in Valley Vista, we've been to the Pines Motel, we've been to downtown to one of the businesses there that's under construction. We've been to St. Mary's High School, and tomorrow we're going to be going to the middle school, and we'll be actually revisiting the high school. The high school has a fire protection system that has been non-functional for several years.
Since '86.
Yes, and it's a violation of the International Fire Code, and so I have advised the school that that needs to be repaired. I am on track to meet with the superintendent to advise her that if the fire protection system is not functional by the time school starts, we will red tag it and there will be no school. So the fire protection system, I've been told by them on 2 different occasions that it's in process and they're getting a line dug up and repaired. However, I've been driving by there every day and I haven't seen an excavator there yet to make those repairs.
Your report, Chief. Any other comments?
Just on behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome our new firefighters.
Absolutely. Dennis?
Thank you.
And Randy.
All right. Scott Hoover Auditor's Engagement Agreement is an action item for us to take.
Yes, in your packet, did you review Scott Hoover's agreement? I will be scheduling his audit by the end of the year. His fees changed, increased a little bit, just $250 difference from last year.
All right, how much higher?
$250 more than last year. Once this gets accepted, then I can go ahead and schedule his audit.
Okay, I'll move that we accept Hoover certification, certified public accountant for our audit this year.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Just one signature on this one here.
Yes, one signature.
All right. Next, budget proposal for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Have you had a chance to review your draft number 4 of the budget changes and?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so do you have any questions regarding our proposed budget?
None from me.
So we are proposing for fiscal year 2023-2024, we're anticipating a revenue of $656,776 and expenditures to match the same, which is $656,776. So if your proposed budget is acceptable today, I will go ahead and advertise in the Gazette and the Coeur d'Alene Press, and then we'll have our hearing next month.
Sounds good.
Okay. Do you have any questions on this?
Okay. And our final agenda item, Jim Schubert.
Well, this is an action item.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, it's not, you already
No,
did, sorry,
no.
sorry, my mistake.
Okay, thank you, Gary. All right, Jim, you have the floor.
Thank everybody for this opportunity to speak. And, number one, my background, I served as Assistant Fire Chief for St. Mary's Fire Protection District from 1985 to 2002. I started out my fire career in the Navy in 1965. I retired out of Navy Reserves as a fire chief, Chief Petty Officer. And during my time in the Navy, I served in Vietnam on an ammunition ship. And that's where I really learned my fear and respect of fire. I was a damage control party leader on the ship. We carried 500,000-pound, 2,000-pound bombs, nuclear weapons, stuff like that. And so our operational state of readiness had to be 100% all the time. Whenever we used anything, equipment was restored. So after I did my 4-year stint in the Navy, then I affiliated with the Reserve Program in Spokane. I wound up being a damage control instructor at the Reserve Center. We had a damage control simulator. So I retired out of the reserves. In 1985, of course, I became Assistant Fire Chief, St. Mary's Fire District. And at that period of time, we formed the fire district. And so I got to serve on there for 20 years. I was a level 3 firefighting instructor for Idaho Emergency Services Training, and I instructed essentials of firefighting, ice rescue, propane fire emergencies and mitigation, and hazardous materials. And I was a certified state fire inspector from 1985 to 2003. I attended classes at the National Fire Academy. And the courses included master planning, incident command system, fire cause and determination. I instructed numerous classes at the North Idaho Fire Academy, Idaho State Fire School, Clearwater Fire Academy. And I instructed many classes in the local district, including St. Mary's, Fernwood, Plummer, and classes in Coeur d'Alene. I served 3 terms as president of North Idaho Fire Chiefs Association. And I also played a key role in the formation of the Fernwood Fire District. And I currently serve as deputy coroner for Benoit County. There's some common facts in fire service. First 5 minutes on fire dictates what the fire department's going to be doing for the next 5 hours. And it's not one thing that leads to a catastrophic event, but a combination of conditions put together at the same time. Number one, and I've observed this in my 27 years that I spent on the fire department. No home fire escape plans, locked exits, impaired hearing, housekeeping practices, improper use of electrical appliances, improper use of extension cords, overloaded electrical circuits, unsafe condition or misuse of heating appliances, blocked access for emergency responders, blocked fire hydrants. That includes wintertime. When I was on the fire district, each one of the firefighters had a fire hydrant that they were assigned to. We kept them clear in the wintertime, made sure that everything was accessible. We asked the neighbors, people live close to hydrants, to keep things clean and not plow the hydrants in. And fire scene interference with bystanders. I've experienced this. And with the fire department side, it's a lack of regular fire equipment maintenance and inspections and documentation. Lack of proper maintenance and timely repairs on fire engines and associated equipment. Failure to maintain an operational state of readiness on fire engines. This we were really serious on the fire district. And it comes from my military background. Everything was always restored and ready to go. And then insufficient training and certification of emergency responders. Inadequate in-house training and quality of regular drills. Low turnout of emergency responders. This can be variable. This can be during summertime vacations, stuff like that. And sometimes people turn the pages off. Sometimes people select the fires they want to go to. During my time on the department, I was involved in 5 fatal fires. The first one was at Ridgeview Apartments. And this was probably 1981, I don't remember the exact year. We had a lady and 2 little twin boys die in the fire. Still emotional to me. Back in those days, we didn't have positive pressure ventilation. It was before it came out. We arrived on scene. I don't remember. It was during a holiday. Anyway, arrived on scene, smoke coming out of the Ridgeview Apartments. And we donned our SCBAs. We had the old Scott air packs back in those days. Went up top side. It was upstairs apartment. Well, it was downstairs and upstairs. And the lady had these 2 little twin boys. She put them upstairs for a nap. She lay down on the sofa with a beer and a cigarette. And of course, when she woke up, the sofa was on fire. The building was full of smoke. We found her at the top of the stairs. We found one little kid on the floor beside the bed, and the other kid in bed. So I started CPR on her when we got her out of the structure. You sit there, that was before we had the face mask and stuff to do CPR. So you sit there and puke and do CPR, trying your best, to save her life. But it didn't, we lost her, we lost the kids. We had bystanders out there screaming at the fire department. Some effing fire department you got here. But we learned. We learned from that when we got positive pressure ventilation. Actually, we had smoke ejectors first. We had fans. I don't remember the CFM on them, about this big square. And we set those in doorway and sucked the air out. It worked. It was better than natural ventilation. But then positive pressure ventilation came in, and so we adopted that and made a big difference. In 1982, we had the Safeway fire down here on Main Street. And right there, that's where the new veteran outreach center is at. Matter of fact, it's sitting in the parking lot. And between that and the 400 building is where the Safeway store was. That was a wonderful case of arson. They set that fire twice that evening. But that was the hottest fire I've ever been involved in because it was a wood frame structure. They had a grain silo on it, and it was all dug fir and larch. Engine placement. Engine 1520, the old city engine. We didn't call it 1520 back in those days because we had 2 fire engines. And it was 1520 and an old American with France. And it was about a 1940, 41 engine. But they staged 1520 across the street. We melted the taillights out of it. I was not a fire officer at that period of time. I kept the 400 building wet down. We protected exposure over on the Hughes house. And when you put water on that, it turned to steam. So basically we saved the Hughes house, we saved the 400 building. We had some guy, when I was over by engine 1520, pulling hose and equipment off the engine. I had a little chat with him. And he said, I said, get your hands off the engine. I asked him first what he was trying to do. And he says, you guys aren't getting this goddamn fire out. He says, we need to get this fire out. Well, there was nothing you could do. We were holding controlled burn at that period of time because of the amount of conflagration. So, anyway, I invited him to leave, and he argued with me, and I said, well, you're gonna get an opportunity to go to the Crowbar Motel. And so, anyway, finally he left after I got a police officer over there. But that happens. You get these people, you know, and this was not a Friday night or a Saturday night, this was a weeknight. But you get people under the influence of alcohol and stuff like that coming on the scene, you get chaos. 1996, we had the ice fatality after the flood. 2 kids died out there on the ice. Fortunately, we were far enough out of town, we didn't get the lucky losing the bystanders. I was the IC on that incident. I've lived that one for a long, long time, but the St. Mary's Fire District, the city pulled together on that. We improved. I was an ice rescue instructor at that period of time. I'd gone through classes and I'd teaching classes. I thought we were really good because we were always successful on our ice rescues when we were drilling. You know, it was wonderful. And then when we had the ice incident, it was over behind regular stud mill. And I was standing up there, I had my 35mm camera with me. And so I was the first one on scene from the fire department. And anyway, rescue 1560, I think. Anyway, 1560 radioed that they were dropped 2 personnel on board. So I said that I was IC, and when they radioed they were en route, I asked who we had on board. We had Terry Harwood and Andy Rowe. I said, okay, we've got 2 kids. We have 2 kids about 100 yards out. 2 kids about 100 yards out from our location. I want you guys to suit up when you get on scene. And then we had, I'm not remembering all the numbers on the engines. But anyway, we had our crew cab come out in 1530. Anyway, 1530 came out. We had 4 personnel on board. So they were line handlers and so on. So we sent Terry and Randy out first. Well, there was a line out there in the ice. You could see a line. The kids are out there. I could just barely see them, but we were in communication with the kids. And with that line, Terry and Randy got out there, and they got within about 15, 20 feet away from the kids. And then they started breaking through. the ice was too thin. It's 1 inch of ice. The ice was too strong, they couldn't break the ice field through. So finally, they were exhausted, and after going through the ice multiple times, we pull them back and they go back to the ice again. But anyway, the kids got quiet. And then pretty quick, I was watching with the binoculars. I think Donnie Masterson and I don't remember who the other one was. We pulled Terry and Randy in. We only had 2 cold water suits. We didn't have enough equipment. Our firefighters responded to their limitations of the training and equipment that we had. So anyway, Donnie Masterson and another firefighter went out, and of course they put the suits on. They were soaking wet, they were cold in temperatures, it was getting dark. We had set up emergency lighting and so on. Consequently, I was sitting there with my binoculars watching the kids. And the sheriff's department brought a boat in, a jet boat. They put that in the water. When they put it in the water, they started the engine, and it sucked up mud in the intake of the engine. And so it got out there a short distance and died. Watching the first kid, he saw that, he went down. And then the other kid was looking at him, and he went down. And about 15 seconds later, another kid, the first one went down, came back up, his arm stuck up above the ice like this. Then he went down. While teaching the classes and so on ice rescue, hypothermia. You think hypothermia, you know, the kids are going to last longer when they're hypothermic and drowned. Well, anyway, we recovered the kids about 20 minutes later, one of them, and the other one was about 30 minutes later. They started aggressive CPR on the kids, and we got heart flight. I want to back up a little bit on that in a minute here too. But anyway, they heart flighted them into Spokane. And the kids, of course, passed away. I was really angry for a lot of years. For a year, I was really angry because they lost the kids. We were not successful. Anyway, I had an opportunity to talk with the inhalation therapist in Spokane that worked on the kids after they got in there. I said, why didn't they save the kids? They said, well, number one, the water that these kids drowned in was mud. So they ingested all this mud into their lungs. But when the scene was going down, when I first arrived on scene, I started calling for additional resources. Fred Gunther had a helicopter. He had the Air Force had a helicopter. And the Cybert brothers had a helicopter. When I called for these resources, Heart Flight, I asked for them. And they says, we're not licensed to do rescues. We're licensed to transport. All I wanted was this helicopter to pick up 1 or 2 of our rescuers and set them on the other side of these kids so we can pull them in, rope into them to get them out. They wouldn't do it. Fred Gunther was someplace on his cat someplace doing the project. This was the 1st of March. So he was busy, Cyber boys were not available. So things were falling apart, but we had never planned for that. So it's really important that fire departments maintain an operation state of readiness, constantly drill. It's just with the ice incident, it's like playing basketball or football. If you don't constantly drill and improve yourself, if you limit yourself, that's all you're going to have. But if you constantly drill and practice, And so, anyway, and after that incident, you know, when I taught ice rescue classes, it was no longer from here, it was from here. And that's the way I feel about the fire department too. You know, on emergency responses. So hopefully, you guys never experience anything like that. And to me, dog rescues, we rescue dogs. Because if you don't rescue dogs, people go after their dogs, after their pets. We had a dog rescue over here, Meadowhurst. It was November, I think, 2000. We went out with the fire department after the incident with the kids losing kids. We got a lot of equipment. We bought rescue ramps and so on. We drilled and practiced with those. So anyway, we had these rescue ramps. And when we saved the dog wasn't really in danger. It was a lab, and it was typically labs that you always rescue. The dog was sitting on the ice because he got out of the water, but he wasn't going to move. So we went out there, Randy Rowe, and then one of the other firefighters went out there on ramps to get the dog, brought it in. I took pictures. This was when the digital cameras first came out. So anyway, I talked to Gazette Record, nothing against them. But I asked them, I says, please run an article in a paper with the pictures of this dog rescue. They didn't do it. A week later, Mrs. Nitzy went out on the ice after her dog. She's buried up there in the cemetery. So hopefully, fire department never ever experiences anything like that again. Some of my personal observations with the fire department after I left the fire district in 2002, I lived at Evergreen Terrace. I was out on my deck one July evening, and I smelled an old familiar smell. I looked up on the hill. There was a glow in the air and heavy smoke. And Pugh's office was burning at the pit. So I grabbed my camera and I went up there just to observe. One thing I was really concerned with was the fact engine 1522 came up there and parked as close as they could get to it, which was a safe distance away. But they blocked the road and did not set up for full-to-tank water shuttle operations. They pulled water tenders in and then they had to back out a long ways. That was not our method of operation on the fire district. Our method of operation, we pulled it up there farther, engine 1522, we just set up a full-to-tank and it'd be dump and run. So you've got a constant supply and the units have a place to turn around. To me, this was a training issue. I didn't say anything because I was not on the fire district. It was not my place to say anything. And then we had as deputy coroner, I responded to a call over at Garden Tracks. It was a suicide, arson suicide. Guy set the house on fire because he'd stabbed his wife. Fortunately, she lived through it. So when I arrived on scene, structures full of smoke. Fire department put the fire out. Good job. But they did not establish ventilation. It should have been established at that period of time. But it wasn't, so I asked them to set up ventilation. I didn't say positive pressure, but it was a matter of opening doors and windows. But it was a great opportunity to use the positive pressure ventilation fan and clear out the area that needed to be cleared out. It didn't get done. But it's just, to me, a training issue. And then we come into the Mother's Day fire, and keeping in mind, you know, with the occurrences, things that lead to a catastrophic event, it wasn't one thing of this Mother's Day fire. It was sad. I really feel bad. But I think about the little girl dying, what she went through. But there again, training should have really played a role in that. A bystander had to say, that engine's parked too close. Needs to be moved, you're gonna lose the unit. A door was left open on the passenger side. The seat was scorched and door panel. Fortunately, they moved it. But on the second thing, the engineer could not get water. And it's my understanding that that has been a problem, kind of an ongoing problem. That shouldn't have happened. Maintenance should have been done on that engine the first time it ever happened. It should have been taken care of. So there was a delayed response on that. As a reflection on the fire department. It's an ongoing reflection on the fire department. And so now I know things will be taken care of. Yeah. And then there was the thing with the spanner wrench. Everybody on the fire department, when I was on there, carried a pocket spanner. On my fire department, when I was fire chief at Potlatch, the mill, there were spanner wrenches. So that should never have been an issue. Bystanders and looky-loos. I talked about that a little bit. According to the police report, they had to call the city police in for, I'll say, crowd control. And Benoit County Sheriff's deputies were on scene to help control the people. And then they wound up calling in tribal police. To me, that's kind of understandable because you get people under the influence of alcohol. It's a moth to the flame syndrome, and people come to the fires like that, they want to see, and they want to help in their own way. But that's one big thing, to keep people away from there. Another thing too was fire department liability. So if the chief said, you know, this guy in civilian clothes, yeah, you can start putting wet stuff on the red stuff. But the guy gets hurt, who's liable? Fire department. So they can't have that. And if I was the chief on that incident, I'd have done the same thing. No way. After the fire, people left the station. There was nobody there to put the equipment back in operational state of readiness. That never happened on my watch. We always put our equipment, got hoses restored, cleaned, restored, dry hoses back on the engines and stuff like that. SCBAs were clean and ready to go. Of course, the face masks, we had to hang them out to dry because you couldn't restore them wet. But it's a training issue. It should never ever happen. So what do you expect, you know, from the fire department when you dial 911? What do you want? You want dependable people? You want them well trained and properly equipped. Mechanic, engines, stuff like that, mechanical equipment. You want the engines and equipment well maintained with regular inspection schedules. You want pump repairs completed, and I'm put down here by a certified technician. You can get the technicians certified in-house, some of your own people. That's what we did. Bruce Modern was the person that did our pump repairs and so on. He and I both went through classes on pump repair. If you want things done in a timely manner, and you want properly equipped, your equipment properly equipped and ready to go. And this falls under NFPA 1500 and other NFPA standards. We're required. This is not a suggestion, it's a requirement. 2 in, 2 out on fire. You got 2 people going in with SCBAs and 2 people standing on the outside with 8 SCBAs and ready to go. Same thing with us in the Navy. We had our OBAs, oxygen breathing apparatuses. We had 2 in, we had 2 out. I experienced a fire in the Philippines on the ammo ship I was on. We had a shipload of bombs on a pier. We were fully loaded out with bombs ready to head back to Vietnam. Back in those days, we did not have turnouts. It was our uniforms we had, and we could only stay down this compartment that was burning probably about 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes, and it was just a rotation thing. On kind of a humorous side on that same fire, heard a guy screaming in the background. He says, "Is it gonna blow? Is it gonna blow?" And this junior officer says, "You'll never hear it." So anyway, 1500, 2 in, 2 out, and you gotta wear your personal protective equipment and so on. NFPA 1911 requires, it's applicable to any public or private organization that uses fire apparatus. It helps ensure in-service fire apparatus are serviced and maintained to keep them safely operating condition and ready for response at all times. And non-compliance with that standard you could lose credit points on the Service and Rating Bureau. So it's really essential that everything is kept up to date and ready to go at all times. And now today, we're in a new day. We've got a new fire chief, and I've heard on some of the meetings I've been to about the fact he doesn't know anything, has no experience. I want to share a little bit about Mike Easton. Mike started as a volunteer firefighter and eventually became a resident firefighter. He attended American River Fire Academy in Sacramento, California, and also attended emergency medical training in El Dorado County, California. He comes to St. Mary's with 30 years of experience. He's received certifications from state, federal, and public and private organizations, and has served in the positions of captain, training officer, safety officer, and assistant chief. He attended American River College, Consumnes River College, and Sierra College. He holds instructor certifications in fire, EMS, confined space rescue, hazmat, and safety. Mike has a clear vision of the fire department, the fire district, and he has the educational skill and leadership to make it happen. Then I want to talk a little bit about Helen Muffling. Helen is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran. Where she served in the Marine Corps as an air traffic controller. And as air traffic controller for the Marines, they only select the best. It's somebody that has a level head and keep her cool on her stress. She has a Bachelor of Arts degree from San Jose University. She's a retired Fish and Game Officer, Lieutenant. A patrol lieutenant with the state of California, where she served as an ICS instructor. And she was on the response team for hazmat, spill response, and investigations. She has numerous awards for leadership and accomplishments. She was a school teacher here at St. Mary's High School. She was a school teacher over here for the tribe of Plummer. She was also a committee member for the design, construction, and dedication of the St. Mary's Veterans Memorial at Woodlawn Cemetery. She has 10-year service award from Idaho Fire Commissioners Association, and she received that award in 2023. As a fire commissioner, Helen has impeccable integrity and is dedicated towards the management and growth of St. Mary's Fire Protection District and protection of property and life safety of its citizens. St. Mary's is fortunate to have Mikey Stepp, Helen Muckley, and Rudy and Kevin as fire commissioners. They have a vision of where we need to go, and they have the skill to get us there. Thank you.
And they have integrity.
Here, here. Thank you, Jim.
So why did so many things go wrong in that fire then? Mr. Estep's so good.
Sounds like they had some
really bad
stuff.
One thing that was
No, that ain't the
mentioned,
case.
one thing that was mentioned is you don't put civilians in there. He specifically sent me down to assist civilians.
Are you a firefighter?
I am.
Yes,
Do you have rope training?
Pardon me?
Did you have rope training to go down?
it was on
Rope
the
training, it was a
To the
fire.
fire.
the fire.
Oh, it was fire?
The fire. He sent me down there, he had 2 civilians on a hose. Then, when we were put in charge of one house, we said, nobody goes back in, it's unsafe. He sent one man in.
We called Fernwood out?
40 minutes.
Yeah,
40 minutes later.
Well, they obviously were there.
But I mean,
Okay.
and then we shut down the
You should
house,
know that.
and he sent a single person in, a young kid by himself,
That had no training.
with no training.
We did not send a single.
Yeah,
You did.
You did.
He specifically came out and told us that you sent him in to go find 2 other people.
Your chief was put in charge of the structure.
And he had already said not
He
to
said
send
nobody
anybody
go
else
in.
in.
And we were told nobody is.
With you guys, okay?
It's
Just 'cause you're wrong,
important
you know.
though. This is really
I mean,
important.
You either own
You
up
have
to your
very
mistakes or you
important.
don't. I mean, we- who taught him all that bullshit? He'd been here for 2 weeks. Where are you?
No, he'd
got
been
30 years-
he'd
got
been
30
here.
years fucking
Long,
experience. You
he
should
wasn't
know.
here for
And
2
you guys
weeks.
want to sit here and, complain about it.
They
Where are
don't
you? How
know.
come you're not
They
volunteering?
just don't know. They just don't know.
Dan,
I'm just asking.
well, you know what? That is
They
not
just
on the
don't know.
agenda. We are ready
I
to
don't give a shit.
But it's
Ready
really
to
important.
adjourn this meeting.
Doesn't matter if it's
We
on the
have
agenda or
finished
not.
our
Helen,
agenda. Our agenda
it
is
is important
complete,
though.
And we are ready to adjourn our meeting. May I entertain a motion?
It's so important.
We don't give a shit about the public.
The public
We
doesn't
talk-
understand
we
what's
talk
going
20-year-old.
on.
All in favor?
When we do
What
old
about all this,
commissioners that can't stand you guys either.
how important state of residence is? And you did a great job of saying that we're getting ready. Before you have your full-time guys.
You don't
Yes,
even-
we had
Okay,
an
honey, I don't
off-duty
know who you
wildland
are.
firefighter arrested.
I don't know who you are, but
Obviously
you
not
guys
concerned
need to.
citizen.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has no
Somebody
clue.
who is perfectly fine with her house, you know.
They have an uneducated officer.
Mhm.